Patch notes so good you'll think that David Z. Klein got fired. What's up, my shinies? My name is Kaiser, aka your Whiff Master General. Welcome back to the Empire, and the patch notes for 8.1 just dropped. So we're going to dive into those real quick, kind of go run through them, see what's good, which is most things, what's bad, which is like 2 things, and things that kind of make you go, oh goody, these do be the patch. Just close. Okay. The patch notes. The first thing that we're going to look at, I want to be clear about this here. These are pretty like basic patch notes in the beginning. We're getting the Apex on the Nintendo Switch. Spoiler, no cross progression, which kind of pisses me off. You're dropping an entirely new console. I think it's time for some fucking cross progression. I just want my shit from the PlayStation account. Okay? I just want my shit from the PlayStation account. Is it too much to ask for to receive something from my PlayStation account? I've got $1,000 in that account. Please, Apex. Caustic's getting a town takeover, which is hilarious. We'll talk about it. We're not going to talk about the town takeover, but when we get to the part in the patch notes, there is a new limited time event, which we will go over. There's a new item and a new type of inventory slot, which is cool. We'll talk more about that. There's going to be a no fill option, which we will go into depth about. There's a collection event with a Bangalore heirloom, which makes me oh so fucking happy. I am personally a Bangalore simp. Okay, Bangalore can do anything she wants to me, and I will thank her. Okay, and a chaotic blast of balance changes, which is going to be the best part. So we're going to skip over the town takeover and the Nintendo Switch launch. I don't really care about those. If you do, I'm sorry. The basics of the town takeover is that it's going to happen at water treatment, which if you've been paying attention to teasers, you would already know. You can drain these little thingies to get to some loot. Ring Fury Escalation. So the Ring Fury is a new LTM that's being brought in, which is kind of cool because we literally just finished the anniversary LTM. We're getting this little week break buffer, and then we're getting a brand new LTM. Honestly, I'm really excited for this to happen because I'm kind of hoping that this is how they plan on doing it from now on, where LTMs are literally coming every like an LTM ends, you get a week buffer, we get another LTM. I would love it. More collection events, more heirloom opportunities, more content. That's what I want, Apex. More content, more balance changes. Let's fucking get this ball rolling. There's something called a ring flare. Those who get caught in a ring flare will deal damage to the round's current ring. You'll be given a short warning on the map and mini-map before it appears. So from my understanding, what's basically going to happen is even though the ring is not closing in on you, it's becoming unstable in this LTM. And so randomly the ring will show up in small locations. This introduces the new item. So we recently saw this in season 6, I believe, with the mobile respawn beacons. We got a limited time mode, which introduced the mobile respawn beacon, which I don't use very often, but I have used it on occasion, and overall I think it was a very good item to add to the loot pool. It added some very interesting late game ways to play Apex. The other thing that we're going to be looking at here, this is the new heat shields. Now this I can see being used a hell of a lot more. If you are caught in the ring, you can throw this down and it will protect you from the ring damage. You will get, where is it at? You will get 25% or 50% healing speed and 25% res increase, but only, and this is the part I like, they thought about this, only when the heat shield is in the ring, right? So you can't Gibby dome it, right? Throw it down and pop off a bat or cell or something real quick in the midst of a fight. It is only when it is inside the ring The heat shield will slowly degrade in power as it's damaged by the ring. So you also can't just sit in the ring inside of it. Again, another good thing they talked about, if you were around in Season 0 to Season 2, I believe, before they made this change, Lifeline used to be able to literally just sit in the last ring, popping off syringes like a motherfucker, and she would be fine. She would be perfectly fine. And there were so many heal-offs in last rings, so they made sure that we didn't have another Lifeline debacle. I'm happy about that. So, one thing I don't see here is whether or not the heat shield stops bullets. I don't know if it does. I would assume that it does, but I do not see anywhere where it says that it stops bullets. Let me read up here one more time just to make sure. Yeah. So I don't know if it stops bullets like a Gibby Dome. I would assume it does, but I'm not sure. It may just stop ring damage. We'll see what happens. This also brings in the introduction of the survival slot, which is a new type of inventory space. This is the first time in Apex's history we have gotten a new type of inventory space. You can carry up to 2 heat shields, and I'm assuming 2 mobile respawn beacons in this slot. I don't know if that's the case, but it looks like we're definitely able to carry 2 heat shields in this slot. It's going to be assigned to a new button on the controller and a new keybind on PC or mouse and keyboard. And this is really good too, because a lot of times you wouldn't carry a mobile respawn beacon because it would take up one of the very precious inventory slots for grenades and bullets, because nobody carries heals. Don't be a bitch. So what I'm really actually hoping for is that this new type of inventory slot is going to come. I don't know if anybody remembers this. In Season 3, or maybe it was 4, when you brought up your, when you tabbed and looked at your teammates, there was an additional slot next to the backpack that didn't really hold anything, and everybody kind of speculated what that was for. I don't know if that was an early survival slot concept that hadn't come into the game yet, but it was in the accessory area. So I'm kind of hoping that we will see a new kind of slot. You don't automatically have it, but you can find an item like a grenade belt, and you can carry more grenades on your character. I think that'd be something really cool. I don't know how viable it would be, but I'd be really excited to see it. Then they're saying escalation takeovers, like previous playlist takeovers, which has been the last couple of LTMs. They basically forced the LTM onto the player base, which was bad for one, with the multiple care package drops. That was a shit event. Fuck that. The most recent one with the white armor and all that was really great. I really loved that. So it's going to replace the duos and trios for the 2-week duration. Ranked will not be affected. However, unlike previous takeovers, Ring Fury is an escalation takeover, which means every few days during the event, we're going to turn some knobs and crank up the prevalence, timing, and size of the ring flares. By the end of the event, you can expect 5 different stages of escalation. Basically meaning it's going to be here and there at first, and then eventually we'll be shitting our pants constantly. So that sounds fun. And it actually does sound very exciting. I just hope it doesn't get old very quickly. It will probably get old very quickly. Next is no fill matchmaking. The randoms in Apex can be very smooth-brained, and they can be absolutely draining and really, really frustrating to deal with. And there's a few other things about the no fill that they cover later that we'll go over in a minute. Will I be using no fill? Probably. Will I use it all the time? Not likely. I'm not good enough at the game to constantly feel like I can solo solo teams of 3 or even teams of 2 if I were like no fill on duos. But I can see myself using the no fill option when I've gotten kind of tired of random shit, and also just to kind of switch up. I'm also very looking forward to seeing how this affects content creation in the future. not necessarily for me, but for higher tier players. I can imagine there's going to be a lot more challenges that crop up coming here soon. For a while, really good Apex players have had to increase the kind of challenges that they've done. I also can see a lot of streamers doing the no fill queue as a channel point redemption. I'm actually, now that I say it, I think I'm going to do that myself. I think I'm going to add a channel point redemption for no fill queues. You're welcome, streamers. Big brain. I came up with that. So it tells you basically how it works, blah, 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 blah. And then it gives some stuff for the non-sweats. Focus on completing certain daily and weekly challenges. I feel that. I've always been able to pretty much do it in trios, though, so it's not a big deal. Ever since they got rid of the location-based challenges, thank Christ. But I could see, like, you're maybe looking to only do a certain type of damage and then leave. Maybe you don't want to impose on other people. I get that. Warm up, drop hot, and get into lots of fights. This is definitely something I can see a lot of the higher tier players taking advantage of, right? Dropping hot, getting into as many fights as you possibly can, warming up, probably for ranked or something like that. Or if you're like working on mechanics, challenge yourself. Can you win? Yeah. Experience the latest lore teaser on your own. This is another thing. When the Caustic Town Takeover lore first happened and the teaser started coming, I could never like really get to go where they were because I don't click on the character screen, so I wasn't given the jump master very often. So it's definitely one of those things where I'm very excited to be able to do that when lore comes up from now on. I get to go and do what I want to do and experience. Explore the map and experiment with characters you haven't tried before. I don't know why we needed a no fill for this, but fuck it. I can also imagine, I don't think that this would be a thing because duos is a thing, but it's very hard to get a game in duos sometimes. So I can imagine that there might be a few duos out there who want to play trios because of the shorter queue times. And so they'll probably click like no fill for those kind of things. We have the collection event here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I will say that these badges are fucking fire. Okay, I might actually use a couple of these badges myself. Looks like a pretty badass Kraber skin right there. And we have 6 sets of trackers, which means 2 characters are getting trackers this time around. It goes through some of the new skins. Of these 4 that show up here, so there's, of course, there's a new Mastiff skin, which I actually kind of like. Spitfire skin, I'm not really down for. This Revenant skin is sick. I'll probably cop that. I don't care about Gibraltar. Loba skin is actually good for once, and this Pathfinder skin looks god-awful. But we'll do a skin review when the collection event drops. Of course, Bangalore Heirloom. I'm hyped for that. We've already gone over that. This is the same as always. Nothing's different. Balance changes. Balance changes. We are about to get into some of the most controversial things that have been blowing up Twitter all fucking day. And yes, I will be giving you my opinion on each and every single one of these because I'm just an asshole like that. So the first thing, of course, we have is Pathfinder. I'm going to try not to scroll down too fast. I'm sure you've already seen Pathfinders. I'm sorry. The first thing we have is Caustic. Let's take a look at Caustics real quick. Nox gas grenade, that is his ultimate, has been increased by an entire fucking minute before it comes up. If you play Caustic for any amount of time, you will know that 2.5 minutes is not nearly as long as you think it is, especially when you're like me and you actually pick up and utilize ult accelerants. Caustic's ultimate came back way too fast, and it was way too oppressive when combined with his barrels. Caustic for a while has been one of the most oppressive characters in the game. He's needed a nerf for a long time, and he hasn't really gotten one. In fact, he's gotten a lot of buffs as of recently. The other big change to him is that his Nox gas is a flat rate of 5 HP per tick, as opposed to ramping from 6 to 12. This is another great change. I have said before, and I might make a full video on this if you guys want, but I have said before that Apex has become far too reliant on its abilities. There should be no damage dealing tacticals, and ultimates that deal damage should not deal enough damage to kill somebody, because in a game like Apex, your abilities should lend aid to your gunfight. They should not win the gunfight for you. And Caustic has long-standing been one of those characters where his abilities win gunfights for you. It's hard to lose a gunfight when the people can't see, when they're taking constant damage, when they can't run, none of that shit. So bringing this the damage per tick rate down is amazing. I still think damage should be taken away from his barrels, and they should only do slow and blinding. But we can talk about that another day. I might actually do a full video on Caustic. I'm not sure. So the dev note, Caustic is brutally effective at slowing down engagement. The entirety of his kit revolves around gas and large area effects. Low vision obstruction and direct health damage is proven to be too oppressive in too many scenarios, especially considering teammates can play in the gas relatively unimpaired. Significantly reducing gas damage without taking it away completely and having it affect armor instead seems like a fair compromise. I will agree with that. Stays true to the character while making him less oppressive on the receiving end. We'll be monitoring the data very closely. We'll revisit accordingly if it hits Caustic's appeal too bad. Caustic is a crutch character. He's a complete crutch character. And this change is literally going to bring it to where Caustic's going to start requiring a bit of skill. You're going to have to aim your gun to shoot people from now on in order to kill them effectively within a good time limit. Okay, so this is great. Pathfinder changes. Pathfinder mains rejoice. Low profile is finally removed. Now, I have always been in the camp that Pathfinder deserved low profile. However, I can't say this is a bad change. I can't say that low profile is something that needed to be on Pathfinder, and taking low profile off completely boosts the character into a place we've never seen him before. The grapple cooldown is still the way it is. It's perfectly balanced. And even though I agreed with him having low profile, I don't disagree with removing low profile, if that makes sense. I think it's a pretty significant buff. It's obviously very, very good for him. But at the same time, at least they didn't replace the low profile with Fortify, which would have really pissed me off because he didn't need that. So it's really nice that we're seeing them finally address the fact that Pathfinder has just seen less and less and less and less and less play as time has gone on. So I like this. Gibraltar, get ready for me to be fucking pissed off. Remove the 15% faster heal item usage. Oh my god. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody fucking cares. Like, Gibraltar mains are probably irritated because that was one of their like 16 passives that Gibraltar had. Okay, but the gun shield needs. The gun shield is the problem. Respawn the gun shield. Respawn the gun shield is the fucking problem. Please respawn. I need you. I need you to do this for me. I need you, Respawn, to listen. The gun shield is the problem. It's nothing to do with his dome. Nobody's ever cared about his dome. Every fucking season, I think it was in season 5, when they reduced the time that it takes, or the time that the dome could stay standing. And back then, I was pissed off too. They just refused to address how oppressive his gun shield is. This needs to happen. Horizon's change is interesting. Increase the ultimate cooldown. Like Caustic, they brought it a whole minute longer it takes to come back. So there was a twip. There was a clip going on Twitter, and the official Apex page even tweeted it out, which was heavily ironic, where this guy had a mother load dropped around him, a black hole thrown on top of him, and a caustic gas grenade thrown on top of the black hole, and he literally could do nothing. He just died. Like, he couldn't go anywhere. And I think that them increasing her ultimate cooldown alongside of Caustic's, I think that's the major reason for it. And like I was saying earlier, one of the most oppressive things about the current state of the game is that everybody's becoming way too reliant on abilities. And Caustic's oppressiveness does not stay to buildings. because anybody with a functioning brain can use his gas in an open area in order to control where the enemy's going in the open area. Pairing him with a Horizon who understands basic combinations, now you're just completely fucked. It doesn't matter if you try to get out of his gas now, you just get pulled back in. So this is obviously done in an attempt to spread out the occurrence of this combination, but in the long run, I don't think it's going to affect final rings, because you just save it. Obviously, Revenant gets a buff, which is very frustrating because Revenant does not need a buff, but it's fine. His silence now disables the Cloaked Revive and the Octane Swift Mend. Having Revenant affect passives has always been stupid, but whatever. We're just going to keep making Revenant more powerful. But here's the funny thing. It affects Octane Swift Mend, but does not affect the new Watson buff. Watson now has passive shield regen at half of Octane's current rate, which is his old rate. I think we're going to find that they're going to... I think we're going to find that they're going to eventually increase it like they did for Octane Swift Mend. I don't know if I'm right about that because none of her abilities take away from her shields. But I am curious to see this stack with the Pylon. I don't know if the Pylon and this stack, because I think the Pylon gives 0.8 shields a second back, which if it does, that's great. That needs to stay that way. Watson has been in a very weird place for a while, ever since she got the nerf to not being able to put 3 pylons down anymore, and then they changed it to where the pylons now have a timer and you can still put 3. Watson's just been in a pretty weird place in the game, but I think we're actually going to see a lot more Watson play come about, and we're probably even going to see Watson enter the meta depending on how these changes to Caustic and Horizon function. We will see how that happens. Rampart got some more survivability. Rampart is the single weakest character in this entire game, and we all know that. The buff to the Spitfire at the beginning of Season 8 definitely put her in a better place, as well as some of the changes to her wall and Sheila. These new changes to the wall and Sheila also do put her in a better place, but not enough. And let me explain. So the explosives used to destroy Sheila and her amped walls in one shot. Now they don't. They just do the normal amount of damage, which sounds like it's a buff, but I want to make something clear here. Nobody ever throws grenades to blow up the walls of a rampart. People throw grenades to blow up the rampart. And the way most ramparts play, where they build the little triangle or they build a protective barrier on top of a hill, no one's throwing the frag hoping that they're going to blow up the walls to shoot the rampart. They're throwing the frag hoping to blow the rampart's head off and not have to deal with her shit. So while this is a good buff, it is not a buff that's going to change anything, at least not in my opinion, although I could be wrong. Weapon changes. All gold, AR, and LMG's default optics have been changed to a bruiser because no one uses the 1-2 hollow. I'm so happy they finally fucking listened to us. Now whenever I pick up a gold 301, it's not going to have the little zizu for no fucking reason. That's really nice. I appreciate that. And there's an added bonus at the end of this that I can't wait to get to. The Mastiff pellet damage has been decreased from 13 to 11, meaning that you can no longer 2-pump people anymore. The max damage is now 88 if you hit every pellet onto their body. I don't know about headshot max damage. I'll have to get back to you on that. But the fire rate has also been increased from 1.0 to 1.1, meaning it fires slightly faster. So you can't 2-pump people anymore. You can 3-pump them now. And you might be able to do it in the same amount of time as a 2-pump. I don't think I'm right on that, but this is going to definitely require some testing when the changes drop on March 9th, which is in like 4 or 5 days. The Wingman, 1 bullet to every magazine size, including the base. We are getting that much closer to having the OG Wingman back. Although I don't think we ever will, because they're probably not going to increase that fire rate anymore. But having more bullets to miss is definitely a plus. I am happy for this change. It's not huge, but it is something that I'm very happy with. The hip fire spread, which I misread as speed when I first read this. The hip fire spread has been increased. That's good. Okay, that definitely means that the Hemlock's not as oppressive in close range. But I would like to take this time to remind the developers that most people use the Hemlock for mid to long range, and it is still a bitch at those ranges. Quality of life changes. Kings Canyon loot is being increased. That is really cool. The wooden shacks across the map have a few more pieces and generally be a little bit higher quality. That's cool. Spotted Lake has been reduced to medium quality from high. Not quite sure if I care about that. Crash Site has redistributed the loot in the area slightly. The amount stays the same, but the higher quality loot should be in the ship, which is going to make that fucking ship a pain in the ass. I can guarantee you that. The Caustic treatment has more loot than water treatment, and it remains high quality. So that's really good. So one of the biggest complaints about Kings Canyon has definitely been the loot distribution of the map. This doesn't solve the third-party problem, but the third-party problem is an Apex problem overall, not necessarily a Kings Canyon problem. And again, I could make another video on that someday if it needs be. But I do like these loot changes. Hopefully now playing on Kings Canyon won't feel like such a fucking chore when you're constantly looking for better loot or even more loot. I often find myself on Kings Canyon desperately searching for a certain ammo type or a better backpack. So I'm definitely happy that they've taken a look at this, and they continue to tinker with this. This is about the third loot change they've made, and every single one has seemed to get better, so I'm really happy with that. Locked weapon optic swapping. For guns with fully locked attachments like gold weapons and most crate weapons, you can now remove the optics and replace it with a different sight. And it doesn't apply to the Kraber, though. Why would you ever want to take the 6 to 10 off the Kraber? Anyway, here's my thing. No one's taking the Digi threat off the PK. I don't think so anyway. Some of you might. I don't think so. But I can see people removing the Digi threat from the Prowler to put a one-time optics on. That's about the only thing for the heirlooms. What I do like, however, is that if you pick up, like, let's say you're a weirdo and you don't like the bruiser on the carbine, you can now take that bruiser off and put it on something else that you prefer. I don't pick up a lot of gold weapons, but the longbow, the golden longbow, comes with that 6 to 10 digi threat. Some people don't like to use that. You can now take that off, put on a 3-time scope if that's more your fancy. That's really cool. I like that. Assists have been added to the in-game HUD next to kills, so that's really cool. This was already present in ranked, obviously, and now has been added to unranked, which is something I've wanted for a long time. Assists still don't contribute to XP. I was not aware that they never did. Apex, what the fuck? Contribute them to XP, please. Okay. It says this has replaced the spectator eye icon. So that means you will no longer know if someone's watching you. Don't know if I like that. I think it's really cool. It makes me feel good whenever I'm watching, like whenever I know like 2 or 3 people are watching me, you know? So I don't know. It's like not a bad thing, but I don't know. I'd like to keep the eye icon. Maybe put it above. Like, so you got the 2 numbers, like put it up here or something. I don't know. Assists and knocks have been added to your squad's banners and will show at the end of the match. I'm really excited for this. Oftentimes we try to judge somebody's contribution to the game based off of the amount of damage that they did, and that's not always necessarily a good thing. It's still a contributing factor, but I do like the fact that you'll be able to see how much somebody contributed to the fight, so that when they start talking shit, you can point out that they didn't have a single assist and they didn't knock anybody. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jerry. Club names now appear on the match summary and champion screen if all players are part of the same club. I think it's kind of funny. You know, the champion screen comes up and everybody's part of the Dong Club. Okay, that's going to lead to some hilarious screenshots, and I know it will. Items will no longer stick to crafting replicator when dropped on the replicator. So basically, what used to happen is if you crafted, say, a purple barrel and you picked it up, your blue barrel would fall onto like the keyboard and it would look really weird. And there was a chance when trying to access it, like if you would interact with the keyboard directly, you could pick it up. It's not a big deal, but still, it's kind of cool that they did that. I just hope this doesn't make the items fall through the replicator, which I'm pretty much calling now is probably going to happen. Badge progress. This has been something we have been asking for so long. For badges that have longer amounts of progress, hovering over the badge will show you more information. For example, if you're trying to get 50 wins as Lifeline, you'll now see that you have 45 instead of somewhere between 15 and 50. I love this. I love that this is there. I have always tried to... I like to know how many wins I have, or how close I am to getting the next on the Assassin badge. So this is something we've wanted for a long time. One funny thing here. This is the 100 wins Lifeline badge, and it says that they've only won 15 games. Fix your screenshots. But it's really nice to get this finally after years of asking. Ping my death box. While respawning on a dropship, you can now ping your own death box to help locate it easier. This is really cool. Most of the time, teammates are pretty good about pinging your death box for you when you get respawned, but it's nice to be able to like go like, where's my shit? There's my shit, and you go get your shit. Gold backpack. Okay, so I want to talk about this real quick. First of all, this is a change I've agreed with for a very long time. Players being revived by a gold backpack will have a crackle of energy based on the tier of armor they wear. While the revive is taking place, they will also display the armor heal FX when the revive is finished. So if you watch Pathfinder here, you'll see as soon as he gets fully picked up, he does the little right. This change should help players prioritize pushing a revive in progress. This is mostly to counter Lifeline when she has a gold bag picking someone up. But I want to point something out here. People have been saying that they wanted a sound cue. I am hearing impaired. I cannot hear out of my right ear, and sometimes it's very difficult for me to discern different sounds as they're going on. So adding a visual cue is really good accessibility. I'm really happy with Respawn for this. Great. Perfect. I love it. This is a big change here. Players on PC can now go back to the title screen from the lobby, allow switching of data centers, which is also called servers, without restarting the game. If you are someone like me and a server is dead, or maybe for bigger streamers, they would get stream sniped, you can now just straight switch your server. You can just go back to the main screen, switch your server, be done. You don't have to log off, go offline, all this crazy nonsense. I love it. But it's only for PC players. I'm hoping that they'll add this for console players. Console players kind of need this too. But it's a great quality of life change. Added numbers to the advanced look controls. I don't really use advanced look controls, so that's good. When scanning a beacon for Ring 6, you should now be able to see the location where Ring 6 finishes. I wasn't aware this is a problem, personally. But cool. Kind of happy that it says. Now, this is something that's gotten a lot of controller players pissed off. Since the survival slot took its button on the controller, they only have so many buttons. Inspect weapon has been moved to the emote wheel by default. And it can be bound to any key on PC. Cool. I love it. So this is pretty cool. I'm not a controller player anymore, so this doesn't really affect me. But controller players, let me know in the comments how you feel about this change. We've got a whole host of bug fixes. Things about no regs, Wraith players where apparently their void was getting canceled when they jumped at a wall. Their skydive emote wasn't working. The flicker's been fixed, which is nice. I didn't know this was a problem. This is stupid. They removed a mechanic people found. Every time there's an advanced movement mechanic, they remove it. Zipline jumping, B-hop healing, infinite sky surfing, and now the wall slide has been removed. Respawn, quit removing movement tech. Like, just quit. Just quit removing movement tech. This is fucking ridiculous. Crypto's animation to bring out his drone is no longer skippable by throwing a hollow spray. Again, quit removing tech. Being able to skip that animation is wonderful for Cryptos, bro. Crypto's slow. Let them do that. Let us. I don't play Crypto. Let them do that, bro. Crypto can no longer teleport to a replicator. I didn't know this was a thing. Reloading the Mastiff in 3030 will no longer be faster in Crypto's drone. Why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? Just let it happen. Fixed a few areas Lober could teleport into that would get her stuck. How about fixing the fact that her bracelet doesn't work on half of Kings Canyon? I'm sure Loba players would be more than happy to get that instead. Rampart. Players can no longer use Sheila to get under the world. Cool. That's nice. I like that. Fixed gravity lift falling through the floor when used on the train tracks. Didn't know that was a problem. Using a zip line after a gravity lift will no longer increase accuracy. Didn't know that was a thing. The mother load will now damage and destroy jump pads, but what if I don't want it to? When under a small enclosure, players will no longer be pushed out after using mother load. Didn't know that was a thing. I've been playing Fuse since launch. Never experienced that in my life, but I guess good. Players can no longer double their grenades after looting a dead Fuse's death box. I didn't know that was a thing either. Interesting. Dropping and picking up the Mastiff will no longer cause it to be reloaded. Didn't know that was a thing. Dropping and picking up the 3030 repeater will no longer cause it to be reloaded. Didn't know that was a thing. 3030 will now have spread deviation when ADS firing and jumping. Didn't know that it didn't. A lot of these I didn't even know was a problem. Fixed a bug preventing Steam users from sending friend requests to each other. That was a problem I noticed. I'm glad that's updated. Usernames now update when a user swaps between the Origin client and Steam client. Didn't know that was a problem. Who the fuck is still using Origin when Steam is a thing? Come on now. Fixed a bug preventing players from creating and joining clubs due to their EA account. Blah 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 blah. So that actually happened to me. So that was good. And then see them in the arena. So overall, we got a lot of good changes. A couple of bad things. A lot of stuff I didn't know was problems. A lot of mess. Basically overall, this is one of the best patches that I have seen Apex do. In general, I think that it's very important that we recognize that they are definitely trying to do better for us as a player base. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed my run through of the patch notes. I haven't done one of these since season 5. Probably am going to do them more often because we are on the road to content creation. If you are a fan of the channel, do not forget that at 500 followers on Twitch, we'll be releasing With Nation merch. I'm very excited for that. So if you haven't followed the Twitch already, just go ahead and follow it. It doesn't hurt. It's one button. Come on. Links are always in the description. And if you want to follow my gaming TikTok, you can do that. I'll be posting a new clip right after I finish recording this video. So you should definitely go check that out. Give it a like. Give it a comment, share it with your friends. I love you guys so much. And remember, stay shiny.